On today's show, what a weekend. The Ottawa Senators double up the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-2 and remain the hottest team in March in the National Hockey League.
And we've spent a lot of time looking down in the standings, watching everyone in the wild card race. But hey, maybe it's time to start looking up the standings.
This is Brady Kachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. Down in the desert, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today is Monday, March 17th, and Pilsy, I got you something for your birthday.
Ooh, I love birthday surprises. Hit me.
6-game winning streak and a sweep in the Battle of Ontario for your Ottawa Senators.
Whew. I mean, it's been a pretty good March, and that's a great birthday gift, Ross, but I would like for you to wrap the birthday gift with a bow on it with a win up against the Montreal Canadiens. Please, please, please. Maybe I'm getting greedy, Ross. Sweeping the Leafs and winning the Battle of Ontario like that, being in a great wild card position with points ahead of the next wild card team and looking good. But we cannot allow the Montreal Canadiens to keep building momentum here, and we can't allow them to pop our momentum balloon. So I want a little bit more. I'm getting greedy here, but I want a little bit more. Need that win up against the Habs tomorrow night.
Especially because you've lost both games so far against Montreal. But like, times are good in Ottawa. And if there's one way that I could illustrate that, we'll pull it up on YouTube here. The Bleacher Report this morning, pulling up the 1 month to go in the NHL regular season graphic. And the race for the second wildcard spots are extremely tight, and they've got the cutoff there with the Rangers holding that spot, Montreal, Columbus, Detroit, the Islanders, the Bruins, and the Penguins all below. So they've cut off the Senators. They just have the Senators in the playoffs, and our friends over at Money Puck and The Athletic, their models are showing above 90%, but I think Senators fans of any fan base are going to wait until that X is next to their name before getting too excited.
Yeah, I mean, Ross, Money Puck has it right now at 96.5%. But as two guys that have covered the lottery odds a lot, Ross, we know that even a 4.5% chance, or no, 3.5% chance, there's still a chance there. So we're excited, we're optimistic, but we're really trying hard. We're really trying hard here not to get too far ahead of ourselves.
All that said, if the Sens beat the Habs tomorrow, I will be going into full-on cocky mode.
We will be insufferable to all the other fan bases of Atlantic Division teams on Twitter.
I have 7 years worth of angst built up for this moment right here. They're not there yet, but the Senators are 7-0-1 in their last 8 games. They're riding a 6-game heater. Not only did they beat the Leafs, but the Leafs are in disarray. It feels like the Ottawa Senators stole their power in Ontario and have just caused a full free fall. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 2-4-1 in March. That's 28th best in the National Hockey League. So we've been watching a little bit of Leafs content yesterday. I buckled in on the couch for about an hour on Sunday, took a peek at the Steve Dangle report. I watched the post-game show on the Fan 590, and holy smokes, it's two teams going in complete opposite directions, and we are completely fine with that. Pilsy, you and Jack did a great job in the postcast on Saturday, but now that you've had 48 hours to think it through, what's your everlasting memory from Saturday night?
Well, there's definitely a few. Just to touch on the Leafs content, Ross, it's funny too because I dabbled in some Leaf content as well, but it's funny because they're at the point now.
Please take responsibly.
Yeah, only in small doses, everyone. It's funny because the Leafs fans are becoming rational about the rivalry between the Sens and Habs. Like, no longer is it like, whatever, these guys, Sens-Leafs, the rivalry. No longer is it, the Sens suck, like, who cares about them anyways? It's like them having very sober, looking in the mirror thoughts, being like, oh my God, like, this team is legit. They are probably going to make the playoffs, and they might be a problem for our Toronto Leafs team if it comes to that point. So it's nice to see it's not just blind fan hatred, but they're starting to really come to grips with this could be a real thing.
Well, as it should, right? The Sens are 6-1 against the Leafs in the last 2 seasons with a +12 goal differential. They've won 5 straight in that friggin' barn, the library that couldn't even get up and clap for a fight last night on Saturday. This could not have gone any better. So I'll say that fight wasn't one of the top moments. It was a bit of a dud, and that's fine. Ridley stood up for himself. Fair enough. My moment was that Jake Sanderson goal, dude. I've watched that 35,000 times so far already.
It's so good, man. Like, the way that he's able to shoot the puck like that for a guy that's supposed to be a two-way defenseman. Like, if that was like a top 6 winger, you'd be like, yep, that sounds about right. But Jake Sanderson absolutely buried that one. I'm going to go with something, excuse me, that you probably wouldn't expect, Ross. But the Linus Ullmark mishap is a big moment for me, because that is a face palm moment for Sens fans. It's a goalie's worst nightmare. Hashtag goalie friendly show, to misplay the puck and have it turn so badly and have that be a crucial goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But it's how do you react from that moment? And he shut things down. He could have been all in his head being like, oh man, how did I do something so stupid like that? And then just be settling and dwelling on that. But nope, he's like, all right, I messed that up. All good. No more from now on. And he absolutely shut the door. So obviously I don't love to see that moment, but the Sens are going to have to face adversity like things like that. And we're going to have to see how not only Linus Ullmark reacts, but how the team reacts too. Because the team could have just folded, Ross, and been like, man, a goal like that happens against us. Like, what are we going to do? Like, we were in a good spot and now the Leafs tied it up again. We lost our momentum. Nope. The team found a way to get it done too. So that was a crucial moment for me.
I loved how after the game, Jake Sanderson said, I looked at Thomas Chabot on the bench after that, and Shabby said he's going to lock in right now. And he made that glove save at the end of the second period. That was awesome, too. It just, I felt like it grabbed the soul out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, they did have that one opportunity at the end where Zub flipped the puck out over the boards and delay of game, the only power play Ottawa gave up in that game. So you know what? Fair enough. At least that way Leaf fans weren't able to say, oh, we didn't get a single power play and they scored their game-winning goal or their game-tying goal. No, it was the game-winning goal on their one power play. Oh, no. Ottawa actually had the better chance there. Short-handed.
Breakaway.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously G's been so good. 6 games, 10 points in Toronto since joining the Ottawa Senators. But Linus Ullmark shuts it down. You're getting production all over the lineup. Like Tim Stützle with another assist, beauty on the Jake Sanderson goal. What's that? 16 points in 16 of his last 17 games now?
I've lost track, Ross. Like I don't even. It's like a ho-hum moment. Tim Stützle assists. It's like, okay, so we're watching Sens hockey. Like, we're back.
And then you've got an 8-game point streak. I know there's injury in between, 4 nations in between for Brady Tkachuk, and I believe it's 4 straight games now for Claude Giroux with at least a point. Then you get to the third line. They produce again. Michael Amadio is like 3rd on the team in scoring over this hot stretch. We'll get into the numbers more on that a little bit later. He's actually 5th, but still really good behind Sanderson, Tkachuk, Stützle, and Drake Batherson. So there's so many great performances that we'll hit on in the next segment. But that game against Toronto, hopefully more symbolic as well as just the 2 points in the standings, is if this does somehow end up being a playoff series, I think Sens fans would be pretty confident in their chances.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the matchup on the ice. I'm starting to get away from hoping for that, Ross, though, for reasons outside the hockey matchup. But I wouldn't be worried, or I wouldn't be shaking in my Sens pajamas if that was the matchup.
You do realize, though, they match up better against the Leafs than anybody else, right?
I think they match up pretty good up against Washington, but I would give the on ice matchup against the Leafs the edge. I agree.
Yes, they match.
I just don't send me to Florida, Ross. I went to Florida in February. Loved the sunshine. Didn't love how things turned out on the ice for the team, though. So I'm done with Florida for the year.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. Let's stay out of Florida. That's a fair point. We're not into that part of the season, though. We're talking about who we're playing in the playoffs. I'm just saying, if it is Toronto, I'll be very happy. What's allowed Ottawa to have this success, though? After the break, we'll look at that. And then when we look at the standings, I might, stay tuned, pull up the Atlantic Division standings. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. We've had Sens fans tweeting pictures of them getting their wonderful pistachio flavors at the grocery store. My favorite flavor, I recommend it, the salt and pepper in the light purple bag. But if you don't want to deal with the shells, they got the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Factor. Eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. With Factor, you get chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. Factor meals arrive fresh, never frozen, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences each week, you can customize your menu to fit your goals, whether that's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. I love how Factor keeps me on track with healthy, delicious meals without the time-consuming prep. Factor also has smoothies, breakfast, and snacks. I always need those in the morning. Nothing worse than just having to dial in the morning and start cooking. Factor is here for you. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off free shipping on your first box at Factor. All right, Pillsy. So the Ottawa Senators off today. They did skate, actually, having practice. However, they did not have anything yesterday other than a victory Sunday. Senators, Habs tomorrow night. It ends that stretch of critical games that Pillsy kept hammering down. Well, how'd they do on these critical games, Pillsy? Huh?
They got critical wins on critical games. Let's go.
Oh my goodness, right? We said basically from the Saturday game against the Rangers up until after the Montreal game tomorrow, you had to win them all. And they did.
Yeah.
So far.
I can't believe they won them all, honestly, Ross.
It's unreal. So now the next stretch of games this week for the Ottawa Senators at Montreal tomorrow, at home on Thursday against the red-hot Colorado Avalanche, and then Saturday on the road against the New Jersey Devils. Then they'll get Sunday and Monday off again. Then they'll be in Buffalo for a Dylan Cousins revenge game. Pillsy, but no looking ahead. Let's look back right now at the 8-game heater since we told Tim Stützle we'd get our hairs buzzed if they could beat the Sharks. Since that moment, the Senators are the number 1 team in the National Hockey League. They're ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes, who sit second with the same amount of games played. Third, the Colorado Avalanche. They're 6-0-1. Then you've got Washington, LA, St. Louis, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Florida, and then the Montreal Canadiens. Now, all those teams are separated by just about 1 point. Ottawa leading the way, though, with 15 points in their last 8 games, 15 out of a potential 16 points. Unbelievable. What a turnaround. And they're doing it at 5-on-5 as well, Pilsy. They lead the league in goals scored over the last 8 games.
Yeah, and that's been one of the main points that Steve Stais and the management staff looked at with this team. They said, okay, the defensive structure is very good this year under Travis Green and the coaching staff. Got to give them credit. Linus Ullmark, when he's healthy, he's really picked things up here, and he's been able to consistently give this team a chance to win. But we need to find a way to score more goals, and we need to play better 5-on-5. Bringing in Dylan Cousins, the last game was his first without a point as a Senator. He's got 4 points in 5 games. Fabian Zetterlund's still looking for a point, but he's made an impact, and he's allowed the Sens to not go 11-7. We love that. So definitely this team is rounding out their game, which is what you need to do if you're approaching the playoffs coming up here.
And when we look individually too, or let's wrap up the team conversation first. Like, this is a team that had a great power play early on in the year. Their power play is 12th in the National Hockey League in March, and their PK is all the way down at 23rd. Those are areas that they can still improve, but to be second in goals for per game, just behind Colorado over the stretch of 17 days in March, to me is just incredible turnaround for an Ottawa Senators team that clearly has their eyes set on the playoffs, and they're playing every game like it is a game 7. It's one thing to say it, Pilsy, but for them to go out there every single night and put it on the line like they have, I think you got to give huge credit to the way this team's played.
Yep, and we gave credit to the coaching staff, but the leadership as well. Remember the Brady Tkachuk quote on the bench against Detroit? We're winning this game no matter what. And it's one thing to say that, Ross. It's another thing to believe it. And it's a third thing to go out and execute it. So that's the exact kind of mindset the Sens need to have here.
And they're being led over the last 8 games. Again, don't know if you heard, they're 7-0-1 in their last 8 games, 6-game winning streak. A lot of this is coming together at the right time. And Jake Sanderson is their leading point getter over the last 8 games. He's their only player in double digits. He's tied for 12th in the NHL over that span. Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle with 9 points. The lottery boys, like I like to call them, when we got Stützle, Tkachuk, and Sanderson all in the same sentence. 1, 2, 3 there. Then you've got Drake Batherson with 8 points. And then it's Michael Amadio with 7. Shane Pinto, David Perron, Claude Giroux, and Ridley Gregg with 6. And then you got Thomas Chabot with 5 points. So we got all plus players. All of them are producing. All of them are producing at 5-on-5. Every player that I mentioned there has at least 3 5-on or even strength points in those 8 games. This is as complete of a team as we've ever covered, Pilsy, ever.
And look at the plus minuses, Ross. It's all just pluses. So these guys not only are finding ways to click offensively, but that's translating into good defensive play, or vice versa. Their good defensive play is translating into good offensive play. So the fact that there's so many guys contributing and the depth is really learning how to play their roles and is doing a good part of it. Like, I feel like, Ross, and again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the key to good playoff teams is there's a kind of hierarchy of how this team operates, and everybody has their position and everybody knows their role. And I feel like everybody, especially we talk about that third line and guys like Michael Amadio, are finding their roles and finding ways to thrive within those roles. And that's the key for sustainable long-term success.
And it's the Stais offseason acquisitions that have really stepped up. Guys who maybe struggled at different times this season. I'm looking at Michael Amadio and David Perron as 2 huge reasons why Ottawa's been able to have success. David Perron's rip in last night's game. I keep saying last night. In Saturday night's rip against the Leafs. That's a huge goal for him. And David Perron, a guy who had struggled. He had 1 goal in his first 20 games this season, Pilsy. And now he's got 4 in his last 8. Like, he's been an incredible story for the Ottawa Senators this year. And the way it's really come together at the right time, to me, is a huge step in the right direction for him. Then you have Michael Amadio, who went like 30 games with just 2 or 3 goals. Now, all of a sudden, he's not only scoring, He's scoring big goals, got the game winner in Philadelphia. He's almost a point per game in the last 8. They're just finding ways to get production. Now, is he going to shoot 30% the rest of the year? No. But when you have a third line of Pinto, Greg, and Amadio, you're in a really, really, really good spot if you're the Ottawa Senators right now. And knock on wood, they stay healthy because this team is clicking right now. I know they missed Nick Jensen for the game against the Leafs. I honestly thought, and I'm glad this came up, I thought that was one of Travis Hamonick's best games I've ever seen. Threw a huge hit, had an amazing block, pulled a guy out of his goalie that had crashed in. He did everything that he needed to do, and he was on for almost the entirety of that late game penalty kill where right shot defenseman Zub gets the penalty. Hamonick has to go in there, and he stood tall. So, I mean, that if that doesn't explain, Pills, if they're clicking on all cylinders, I don't know what does.
Yeah, as long as he keeps his glove on the right side of the bench moving forward.
Correct.
That game was a very well-performed game by Hamonick. And just talking about the third line a little bit more, I know we're really kind of hammering in on this, but it deserves the credit. The fact that Travis Green trusts that third line to be his matchup shutdown line up against other top teams' lines is so huge, such a huge boost for the boys. But the trickle-down effect is now your top line doesn't have to go up against another team's top line. So now the Brady, Timmy, Giroux line, they're getting a easier matchup going up against other teams' second or third lines now. So you hope that they get the right side of that matchup now. So it just has such a huge boost on the way this team is able to come together when Travis Green has a line he knows can be a shutdown line, and they've been so effective.
So effective, I think, would be an understatement. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, you know that Winnipeg's third line is elite with Adam Lowry at center, Niederreiter, and Mason Appleton. You look at Carolina's third line, they always have Jordan Stahl there with Jordan Martinook. Like, I would start thinking about Ottawa's third line here with the offensive punch that they have as well as one of the top third lines in the National Hockey League. We might have to dig into the numbers, Pilsy, but they dominated. They're like Matthews got a gift goal on a mistake on the back end between Shabbat and Ullmark. Other than that, like, I don't think I heard Austin Matthews' name more than twice in the entire game. Shane Pinto has blanketed him now in 2 straight matchups.
Yeah, it's massive. And Ross, those third lines you mentioned, what's one thing they have in common? Both of them have their captain on that third line, and it's a major part of those teams' identities. And that's what this third line is becoming for the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, you're not going to see Brady Tkachuk on that third line. But what I'm getting at is teams that have those types of third line, it's a big deal for them. And they rely on those guys and those lines to make an impact. And the Ottawa Senators are forming a third line just like that.
Love that. Let us know your thoughts, not only on the game, but on the stretch the Ottawa Senators are on. And one more nugget. I saved the LOSP stats department. And I was going to give a little stick taps to Sportsnet for bringing it up. But then I thought about it, and should I really? Because these guys, I mean, they were slandering our boy, Pilsy. They said Tim Stützle struggles in the faceoff dot still. Well, I mean, he's only 14th in the league in the last 134 faceoffs he took.
Yeah, I don't know, Ross. I would love to hop on your side here and get upset about this, but I mean, it was a throwaway comment that Stützle wasn't like faceoffs weren't his thing, and career faceoffs are not Tim Stützle's thing. He hasn't had a year over 50%, so I'm not that upset about it like you are, but certainly it deserves to be mentioned that he is improving on his faceoffs.
Improving to say the least. Linus Ullmark, if he does get the start against the Montreal Canadiens, can do something that hasn't been done since 1971. I'll tell you what that is after the break. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. You ever look at your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, guys. But that is where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Look, Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and savings in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan those long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals together, and stay on the same page without all that stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, Pillsy. So the Senators are off tonight. They did have practice today. No Linus Ullmark, no Nick Jensen, and no Brady Tkachuk. For Jensen, he missed the Saturday game. They're calling it a lower body injury. We'll see when he's back, but obviously it's been something he's been dealing with for a while. Before I get your thoughts on that, let's answer the question. What can Linus Ullmark do for the first time since 1971? Well, because Anton Forsberg got the game against the Philadelphia Flyers, if Ullmark does play tomorrow, Pillsy, it will be his 6th straight start against an original 6 team. And for the first time since Al Smith in 1971, he has the opportunity to beat all 6 original 6 teams in succession.
Hey, that's fun. Let's get that done. Especially the fact that Montreal is that last team to make that possible. We need it.
And Ullmark's 0-2 this season against Montreal, and his numbers ain't great. He got pulled midway through the last game, and obviously they lost 4-1 early on in the season. But that's a great little nugget there that we saw on the broadcast for Saturday's game. Pillsy, you ready to look at the standings? I don't know whether I'm pulling up the wild card or if I'm pulling up the Atlantic Division.
Let's do it. We might have to zoom out on our standings page, Ross. Usually we're zoomed in on one specific area, but this the Sens are right in the middle, and things are looking good for them here.
Well, let's start with the wild card race because I just want the Senators to make the playoffs. I think I could speak for a lot of Senators fans. Just get in, baby, and whatever happens, happens. Senators haven't made the playoffs in 7+ seasons. I would really enjoy them making the playoffs here. Ottawa with 77 points, holding down the top wild card spot. The New York Rangers have 72 points. The Habs have 71. The Blue Jackets, who've lost 3 in a row, are at 70 points. The Wings are at 70 points, although they've played one more game than Columbus. Then you've got the Islanders and Bruins at 68 points. The Bruins have played 68 games, 2 more than Ottawa. I didn't realize the Rangers have played 2 more games than Ottawa as well, even though they are sitting in the second wild card race. So when you look at this, is there anyone that makes you nervous, or do you really feel like we can, at this point, look up at the divisional teams?
Look, again, Money Puck has the Sens odds at 96.5% chance to make the playoffs. The other teams in this race, Ross, the Rangers at 64.9, the Columbus Blue Jackets at 10.5, the Montreal Canadiens at 18.7, the Red Wings at 5.1, the Bruins at 2, the Islanders at 10%, and that's pretty much the only teams we need to mention there. So I feel very good that the Sens can do this. Again, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves here, but you asked if there's any team that makes me nervous, and look, I think the Columbus Blue Jackets, they've got 3 more games up against the Sens, so I'm not going to get too cocky. But I think things are not looking good for them. I'll put it that way. The New York Rangers, they've got the pieces and players that can get it done, especially if Shesterkin is on his game. They can figure out a way to get in the playoffs. The only team that makes me nervous, and it pains me to say it, is the Montreal Canadiens, because if they were able to find a way to squeak in, the way that they've been able to turn this ship around for them, you got to tip your hat to them, has been impressive. So I want them to have one more year stuck in a non-playoff year and have to reset the clock and start next season. And the Sens play them 2 more times. The Montreal Canadiens have had our number this year. That's just facts. It, again, pains me to say it, but they're the one team that I'm most nervous for.
Well, I'm glad we can pull up the Atlantic Division standings here because the Ottawa Senators are kind of bookmarked between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. Canadiens are the team on the outside looking in of the playoffs, so you can just think of that as the wild card in a sense of Ottawa being in a playoff spot. So Ottawa is 6 points up on Montreal, and they're only 4 points back of both Tampa and the Toronto Maple Leafs for a tie for second in the division, Pilsy. Now, I'm really nervous about even mentioning Tampa's name because last time they heard us talk about them, they came into our house, they stole everything from us, ripped our hearts out, and then left back to the beaches and their palm trees and their Sedu's down in Tampa. So I don't want to get carried away with that, but I am looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs, Pilsy. This is a team that's struggling. They're in their utter disarray where they're mixing up their lines. They're putting William Nylander, the second leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League, on the third line. They are so in their own heads, and with the noise in that marketplace, I would not be surprised if the Leafs fall out into a wild card spot.
Yeah, Ross, and they're making strange analogies about chicken soup.
Oh, thank you. Save that for final thoughts.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, and it's funny, Ross, because obviously living in Collingwood, it's a lot of Leafs fans. So any of my friends in the area are Leafs fans, and
were the flags at half-mast today?
Well, no, that's the funny thing is because, and even I'm chatting with my neighbor. He's a big Leafs fan as well, and we were chatting about Leafs Sens. I got the congratulations. I didn't gloat too much. I just took it with pride. But the thing is, they've had the mindset for years where they're like, we don't even need to talk about the downs and the problems during the season because who cares about the season? We're the Toronto Maple Leafs. We just focus on when we get to the playoffs, and then we get our heart broken in the playoffs. So we don't even care we don't bother getting our hearts broken or getting too worked up about the regular season because we're saving that for the playoffs. And that's a nice place to be in, I guess, when you don't have to worry about that. But now they're at a point where they're like, wait, how many points are the Leafs ahead of the Sens? And I'm like, oh, only 4. And they're like, wait, what? Like, we're only 4 points ahead of you guys now? Because they just don't even look at the standings at all. And then now they're kind of like, oh my God, maybe we do need to worry about what's going on in the regular season because this is not looking good for us here. And if we do make the playoffs, we're limping in possibly. And that's a whole different dynamic for them here. So it's interesting to see the dynamic shift of Leafs fans in the area.
It's something where we have the standings opened every single day. So it's kind of funny when people look at the standings for the first time and are like, wait, we thought we were a playoff team. That's not how we roll it here. Now you mentioned the Leafs, so let's hear what their goalie Anthony Stolarz thinks about the Senators' forecheck. Quote, they're just throwing pucks on net and turning chicken poop into chicken soup and just getting bounces. Maybe that's something we can take from them and incorporate into our game because it seems to be working for them. As a chicken farmer, Pilsy, what the hell did I just read?
So chicken poop should be a long way away from any chicken soup. That's just chicken farm etiquette. I get what he's trying to say there, but that's the first time I heard that one. Gotta be honest.
Okay, so there's no official recipe for chicken soup that incorporates chicken poop.
Not in my world. Not in my recipe book, Ross.
Well, we're gonna have to make one. It's called the Sens forecheck has really turned one Leafs goalie into a loony because that was an absolutely nuts quote right there. The Sens have the Leafs in their own head. Like all the quotes that were coming out from Mark Masters, who does a great job, obviously, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is Just go read all the quotes. Like Craig Berube said, they want to win. Trust me on that. Well, when a guy says you have to trust him, you can't trust them.
Well, but like what's he saying? Like they want to win. Trust me, we didn't want to win. Like, is that what he's emphasizing there?
There's a sense of frustration for sure, and we got to look past that. We can't complain about or get undisciplined because teams are checking us hard. That's what you got to get through.
Who said that? Berube?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty discipline was the big issue there with the one penalty they gave up. Although it was because that led to a power play goal for the Sens. But this sounds like excuse land to me.
Yeah, I'm a big reverse hit guy, but you have to be in control of the puck, and he didn't touch the puck first. So that's an interference penalty. Two guys are going for the puck. Nobody has it. You can't just box out the puck and not touch it and say you're in possession of it. You got to make the play first. Make the play first, and then take the body. All right, final thoughts from me. Let's look at the 5 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Pilsy, how the times have changed. We will be rooting for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight in Tampa. They're taking on the Lightning there. The Buffalo Sabres are visiting the Boston Bruins, so we're rooting for the Sabres. No word yet on if Josh Norris is back in the lineup tonight. And
JBD, though.
JBD's there. There you go, JBD. And then we're cheering for the New Jersey Devils to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets, although that's less and less important. It is still important. No. I need to reset my mind here. Every team that's in the playoffs right now, we want to beat teams that are not in the playoffs unless it's Tampa or Toronto who we're looking at sneaking up on here. So lots of action.
That's fair, Ross. You said less important. You didn't fully dismiss them. It was much more important a couple weeks ago, Columbus games, but you said less important, so it's okay.
Thank you. So tonight, Senators fans, you're cheering for the Buffalo Sabres over the Boston Bruins, the Philadelphia Flyers over the Tampa Bay Lightning, the New Jersey Devils over the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Calgary Flames over the Toronto Maple Leafs. All 4 teams that we're rooting for, Pilsy, are road teams. So get your Road Warrior helmets on. We're going to some tough environments and hopefully coming out with at least a 2-2 record in this one. Senators can really control their own destiny now if they take care of business tomorrow against Montreal.
Need it, Ross. Need it. Final thoughts for me is the Ottawa Senators are hot right now, and that's having a trickle-down effect down to the Bay of Quinte with the Belleville Senators. Oh my God. I told you guys on Friday that the Belleville Senators needed to have a big weekend. They were up against a weak Bridgeport Islanders team, back-to-back games at the CAA Arena. Well, how about back-to-back 6-1 wins for your Belleville Senators? And that was huge, Ross, because they need these points desperately here, because even with back-to-back wins and getting 4 points, they are outside of the playoffs looking in right now. Syracuse and Cleveland both have 66 points. The Belleville Senators have 64, but the Cleveland Monsters are falling apart here. They're 2-6-1-1 in their last 10 games. So that's nice where now the Belleville Senators are just 2 points behind 2 different teams to get a spot in the playoffs. And Ross, you had a B-Sens performer of the weekend that you wanted to highlight.
I couldn't believe it. Jan Yannick tied Drake Batherson's record for most assists in a game with 5, and then he followed it up with 1-1 in the second game. Or sorry, 1-2, I believe.
He had 8 points on the weekend.
In 2 games. Jan Yannick, stay hot. Jan Yannick. Hopefully he's a guy that's on the radar. After that performance, he definitely is on the radar if the Senators do need a call-up later on in the season. But Jan Yannick has been phenomenal of late for the Belleville Senators.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to be keeping an eye on Belleville as well, Ross, because I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. If Belleville and Ottawa make the playoffs, I'm going to have to find an Airbnb in Kingston and put some kilometers on my Ranger going back and forth between the two. It's going to be a blast.
Hell yeah, we're almost there, buddy. Exactly 1 month left in the regular season. The Senators will wrap up the regular season at home against the Carolina Hurricanes on April 17th. So enjoy St. Paddy's Day. Happy birthday to Pilsy. Let's get some happy birthday comments in the comment box below on YouTube. And for today, we say goodbye. We'll be back tomorrow for a game day preview. Sens and Habs. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.